Hi, and welcome here on my working table. This will be a quite different video than you are used to see here from me, because this video here is about my first attempt to make an art quilt. And I will tell you about my thoughts before I started and some of the reasons why I wanted to try to do this, and perhaps tell you what I have experienced through the process, and later I will tell you more about exactly what I have done and how I have made some of the fabrics, or painted or dyed some of the fabrics myself. So this would be what this video is about. My name is Lisbeth, and I'm a Danish abstract mixed media artist who likes to do many kinds of different things. I work in papers and fabrics, and I'm making books. I jelly print, I alter books, I like slow stitching, yeah, you name it. And I have made many videos until now, and I have tried to divide them up in several playlists so it is easier for you to find what you are looking for. Because if you're only interested in stitching and these things, look at playlists where the content is about that. And if you're interested in making collages, for instance, look at playlists for that. But that is, yeah, this is such a big piece, so it is very difficult to take pictures and making movies or making videos of it. I had tried to make to hang it outside in a fence in my garden, and I have been placing it on my floor in my living room, and I will insert some pictures through here while I'm talking, I think. And I have taken some close-ups or some different things, and I will mix and match this, I think. But if I should say something about why I wanted to try to make an art quilt, there are so many people making very lovely and fine and interesting art quilts. So, and it has never spoke to me, even though I like to see other people's works. But for the last couple of years, I have been making smaller things, and I primarily work small, and I have used a lot of fabrics I have dyed or painted or printed myself. And I like to use fabrics I have not done the fabric itself, but the printing or painting on it I have done myself. And I really like to use that because I think, and that is my humble opinion, that it makes what you come up with or your work much more interesting than all the bought patchwork fabrics you can buy in shops. And I know it is lovely fabrics and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, but for me it's more interesting because I have this eye when I have seen something that is becomes popular. It could be a patchwork piece of fabric, it could be a stencil, it could be a jewelry that sometimes gets, it could be anything, and my crazy brain can remember it. And I don't think if too many uses the same thing, then the interest is not so big anymore. But that is just me. But that was one of the reasons why I want to use some of all the fabrics I have been making myself and try, and really I said try, to make an art quilt. The second thing is I have a friend, and we have known each other for some years now, and she is a big art quilter, and she is a member of SAQUA and have exhibited many places here in Denmark, and she makes big quilts, and she's the one I inherit all the small parts she throws away anyhow, and I make my small fabric collages of many of her fabrics. And when we meet, we always do something. We have been jelly printing and making collages and our sketchbooks and many other things. And we always are at her place because she have a big studio, and there all her quilts are hanging, and that got to me somehow. And I have been talking with her about trying to make one for myself, and I have talked about this for, for several years. But she promised me that she would help me a little if I was something I couldn't figure out how to do. That was the second thing I had considered. The third thing is I always do small things. I would really like to try to go bigger. And since I don't knit anymore, when I sit in my couch corner at evenings, I like to have something in my hands. And since I don't knit anymore, I needed something, and something that I would be finished with in a short couple of hours, or something to immerse myself in, something that would take a longer time. I needed a project for that. And I can assure you this project here is going to take its time. So these were some of the thoughts that is lying behind why I'm doing this. And I have also given it a long and good thinking here, because all these patches has been lying at my table for at least over a year. But I have made some decisions before I started this, and one of the decision was I would only hand sew. No machine, nowhere. Perhaps except when I'm done with this and I want a border around how I would bind it, I think it's called. I don't know that yet. It is far out in the future because there's really a lot of stitching here yet. But I also decided I would do it the way Tina has talked about, and I call it the Sacco way. And that is, you have to have a fabric, a top, a piece of batting or something here in between, and a piece of fabric for the backing. You have to have 3 layers if you ever want to try to attempt one of their exhibitions. You have to do it this way with these 3 layers. I don't think they care about if you are hand stitching or machine stitching. I don't think that matters to them. So, and then I also decided I will primarily use my own made fabrics, but perhaps not say only, because sometimes it's nice to have a solid color or something, is so it you don't get all too much, you can say. And I also decided I want to make a square piece, as square as I can, and I decided about a square a meter by a meter. And that can perhaps will be a little, I don't know yet, but in that area, that was the things I have decided before I started placing, while I was placing and working here a little. That would be the way I would do it. So for those of you like me who had never done something like this before, the way I started was I placed my black fabric here on a big table, and then I light this felt wool. I don't think it is wool, but it is some, call it batting, or I think it is, I don't know quite what it is, but it feels like some kind of felt. And then I have all my fabrics in a pile beside me, and then I took them up. Some of them were bigger than this piece here, but I teared them up, and I teared them because I like torn edges. when I do collages in paper and so, but I don't know if how smart it is when I'm doing it like this, because you get all these frayed edges here. But I start playing with all my different minor pieces here, and it can take its time until you find out how you like to place them. And I didn't go for the first attempt. I laid it up and let it be on my table, and then I could take a day or two and walk past it and look at it and thinking, oh, perhaps this one was better if it was placed there, or perhaps I can turn this upside down, or yeah, all these sorts. But finally I ended up with all my pieces lying here, just lying on the top of the two other layers. And then I placed them with a little overlap. And then I had to get some help from Tina, because that's her name. Did I want to put bonding on here and iron it on so it was glued on? Do I want to put some small glue dabs on it, or do I want to sew it on with some very big running stitches? And since I was going to sew in hand, and I had tried to sew in some of her fabrics where she has this, I think it's like Bonder Whip. It can glue on both sides. It also has another name. I can't remember it, but it is glue on paper, and you can iron it on and remove the paper, and then you can take your piece and iron it onto here. And I have tried to stitch in that, and that is not a nice feeling to stitch through this when you're doing it in hand. And perhaps I could have done it with just some small dabs of glue, but again, hitting such a little dab with your needle is not nice either. So I decided to do it the hard way. Yeah, I don't know if you can call it the hard way, but I sewed all my pieces on here, and you can see there's a little left here because I have let that sit there, and you can see there and there and there and there, because I haven't sewn this down yet, because I got thinking about while I was doing it, perhaps I should make a video on how I did this. So this is not sewed on yet, but all the way here you can see I have been overcasting or stab stitching, or what you will call it, all my squares on. And early on I decided to make them all in black. So all the smaller patches are sewn down with these overcast stitches here. I haven't done anything here at the borders because I don't know yet. I will have to make a line when I at some point are going to bind it, but that is for later. Right now it was about sewing all these patches down so they are sitting where they are sitting, and as soon as I have stitched it down, I've removed the long running stitches I have sewed it down with. So that was the first big work, and that took a long time. And I can say I have some of my edges are fraying, and I won't say I don't like it, but it is something you can consider if you like some frayed edges on your pieces. And you can also decide how you want to overlap them. If you here you can see this piece is going over there, or if you only want them to meet here, it is also overlapping. But that is up to you how you would place your pieces. I think it is quite nice with these small different overlaps some places, like there also. This one is going under there and over there. Yeah, and then of course I will finish these pieces and do the overcast there. But then I have started it at the other end, and now I will turn it the other way around here, if I can do that. Yeah, here, like this, and here. You can see I have began to quilt my art quilt, and again, all is made by hand. And I have, this is, here is just running stitches and running stitches in this fabric here, and I have just made some back stitches there. This piece was a solid red piece, and those of you who have been with me for a while know I like circles. So I traced 2 circles and sewed a lot of seed stitches in, and again I have just quilted it there with running stitches. So the way I do it is I look at that patch there and say to myself, what can I do to, of course, quilt it? That is the meaning. You could see here on the back all the stitches there. But what can I do so I either dull down the pattern or I enlight the pattern? These are the 2 things I consider. And when I started doing this patch, I started sewing here in the white with black, and that didn't look nice. And as soon as I had sewn a little piece, I could see that didn't work for me. I didn't like it. So I picked it up, and then I took the white thread here, and you can see I have just been following all the white places, and some are going that way and some are going that way, but the stitch length is nearly the same, not quite the same, but again you can see this way and that way, and you can see on the back it looks quite funny. Here there are stitches going all kinds of ways. So I ended up with that patch looking nice, and then I started at this patch, and learning from this, I thought, okay, I will sew here in the black lines with black, but that didn't work. You couldn't see it at all. And since this is not screaming white, it is that color. Yeah, it is white, but it's not totally solid. I decided to go with the white yarn here, or the white thread in all the black lines here. But then I ended up with a big area here where there wasn't any stitching, so I find the smaller lines and put stitches in there. And again, you can see on the back side, they are running all kinds of ways, but it is stitched nicely down, so it feels like it's a quilt. And that is what I want to achieve, even though I'm doing it by hand. There is something happening from this flat surface to when you start putting a lot of stitches in, and I really like that feeling it gets. So my plan is to look at each patch and see here what would this benefit for, of what can I do to lift this patch up. And here I have taken a red thread and started, and I think I will continue with the red thread there. You would say this is there's not much happening here on this piece of fabric, so there I will perhaps make instead of a lot of running stitches, I can do something else there. And this patch here is also a little funny, because I have all these 4 round shapes. So there I've been going round and round and round and round and round with red thread and black threads in the crosses. And when I've done with that, I took my white thread and went around there. The only place there isn't much going on there is that little black one, and perhaps I just should make a cross there in the middle. But you can see on the back, you can see the round things and the white line there. So this is about the sewing, what I think about and my thoughts are about that, and how I have done this so far. Now I will tell you a little about how I have made some of my different fabrics. And some of them I have made with stencils on my jelly plate. Some of them I have, these are made on my jelly plate, and this are, and this are, and this are, and yeah, some of them are made on my jelly plate, sorry. For instance, this one is just printed. I had a black piece of paper, and then I have some white paint and a square something. I can't remember what it was now. And then I did this square thing. I think it was a small bowl or something, and I dipped it in, and then I put over there, and new paint on over there, and overlapping them. So this is in fact acrylic paint, not diluted with anything. And this is also acrylic paint, and this is acrylic paint. This one is made with also acrylic paint, but you take a piece of fabric and you paint it in the color you want, and when it's dry, you take some baking flour, I think it is called, and mix it with water, so then you have a good paste, and you paint that on and you let it dry, and when it's dry you crumble it, and then the paint is peeking up. I think that was a bad explanation, but that must be the way I have done it. Or was it the other way around? I think it's the other way around. You must put the, yeah, I can't remember, but logically I must put the flour paste on first and crumble it, and then put the acrylic paint on and let it dry, and then I can rinse it, and the acrylic paint would only have seeped through there where the creases was. That must be the way. It was a long time since I've done that, but you get some really nice patterns. This, for instance, is a big fat Paaske pen I have painted stripes with. And again, Paaske pens is also acrylic paints. This piece there, and this piece there, and these pieces there are painted with diluted acrylic paint, diluted with water. And they are not so stiff as if it is pure acrylic paint, not diluted. This one is made the same way as this one is here, with dabbing on. So there are many ways, and you can see there's a solid patch there and there, and I know I will do some more of these circles in there. So this is the way I have done many of my fabrics, and I have chosen only to use red, black and white because I like this color combo. So this was about how I have made some of my fabrics. The last thing I want to talk about is my experience so far. And if I should ever do this again, and I don't know if I will, but I like to have only one kind of paint here in my house. uh, un- Understood this way. I have so much acrylic paint already, so I ideally I should have used textile paint when I paint my fabrics, because it can be stiff and hard to stitch into places where there are a lot of acrylic paint you haven't done anything, put anything in. It is plastic. Acrylic paint is plastic, so it is quite hard to stitch into this, and I have managed so far, but it is not always nice to stitch into. But I don't want to also have a whole set of textile paints. I know you can buy some different mediums, and I in fact have just bought some from Golden, the brand Golden. They have a mix that called GAC 900, and you can mix that in your acrylic paint, and then it gets to be textile paint. And in the future, I will do that, because then my fabrics will be much easier to stitch into. If it is only thin layers and the second pull, for instance, from your jelly plate, and I think perhaps, I can't remember, but this could also be the second pull from your plate. Then most of your paint is off, and then it is not so stiff. So that is also an option. But I think I will put some medium in my acrylic paint if I'm doing fabrics in the future. And I know I will, because I like to make fabrics like I like to make papers. That was one thing to consider. And the other thing is, I think I would make some bigger overlaps. Some places I have been to, yeah, I don't know the word, what it is called when you're not you're not sharing, and you're not, yeah, I don't know. In Danish it is called nære, but what on earth is it called? I have made too small overlaps, and that is not so smart, because when you start sewing everything down, it shrinks, and I would be better for making bigger overlaps next time. And the third thing I had thought about, I think I will see if I can get used to working with a thimble. I don't like to use thimbles, because I don't think it is in its way. But right now I have so hard skin there and there and there, and I even have poked hole in there, and that is not very nice. So, but I haven't regret. I have chosen to do all by hand, and I will continue to do that. So this is something about my thoughts and how and why, and I have tried to make this art quilt, and I will stop the video now, I think, and at some point, and it will probably take a long time, I will make a part 2, and there I will show you how it ended, and perhaps I will like it, and perhaps I will say never again. You never know. You have to try. But so far, I like my attempt to make an art quilt. I know what the word is now. It is called stingy. when you're stingy with your materials, it is not a good thing to be. You can always make more, but I didn't know that when I started. So, but enough of that. I would say I hope you have found this interesting to look at and hear me talking a lot in my very incomplete English, but please, if you do, give my video a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing my little Danish channel. That would be very helpful of you, and I would appreciate it a lot. And sometime in the future, there will be a part 2 where I will show the finished attempt here on my art quilt. But else I will just say, please take care, and please be creative out there, and also be nice to each other. Try to do that in these difficult times we are living in right now. The only thing we can do is be nice to each other. So, take care. Bye bye for now.